So in motivation land, we're going to look at really three basic kinds of motivation. We're going to first look at biology, and that's going to have us looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Then we're going to look at rewards and punishments. This is the carrots and sticks that we're probably still all pretty used to. And then 3.0 is an intrinsic motivation, and this is a lot of work by Daniel Pink in his book Drive, and he talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and how those motivate creative people. And by the way, most of us today, more than 66% of us, are in creative roles where we don't do the same thing day in and day out. So let's take a look at biology first and then work our way through this. So everybody's probably seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's one of those things that you end up seeing in most science and a lot of psychology, and you just see this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's basically, look, I'm going to worry about air, water, food, and then the rest of it, sex and sleep and homeostasis and excretion and all that stuff. I'm going to worry about really urgent stuff, and that's where I'm going to stay focused. And once my physiological needs are met, then I'm going to worry about safety. Am I secure? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have the things I need to protect myself? And that can even include clothes and so forth. So we keep moving up this model. And it's a great model. It's still taught today. The problem is it does not explain certain situations. Like, for instance, it doesn't explain the starving artist, because the starving artist is lacking food for some level of self-actualization or maybe esteem. Those kinds of things don't really work with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, and if you think about that, an artist is a very creative person. So biology doesn't seem to work all the time. It works pretty well some of the time, but it doesn't work all the time. Well, so what's carrots and sticks? Well, most of us in our work environment are getting carrots and sticks. Frederick Hertzberg wrote an article for Harvard Business Review, one more time, How to Motivate Employees. And you can sense that frustration in him. He breaks motivators into two sides. He breaks the motivation process into two sides. One is hygiene, and what that says is once you get enough of it, adding more of it won't help you. And then the other one is motivators. If I keep adding more of it, I'll keep getting more and more and more and more output or satisfaction out of folks. And so, for instance, achievements, recognition, the work itself, is the work itself very entertaining and engaging to the person. Responsibility, advancement, and growth, those things continue to motivate people more and more and more and more. Now, if you screw up company policy and administration, it's just going to hurt people. It's just going to make them unhappy. You can never get people to be very extremely happy. Wow, they have a new expense policy. Doesn't work that way. This is carrots and sticks at its best. Right? There are things that you can use to punish people. There are things that you can use to help people. And we think that we can get people to do what they need to do based on these carrots and sticks. The answer to that is, well, not really. If you look at these numbers, it's really hard to do advancement and recognition. Well, it's not that hard to do recognition, but you have to do it. Those are more and more carrots, right? Like all of a sudden you're feeding all the horses all the carrots, and you don't have any carrots left. We want to motivate with carrots and sticks. We want to say, here's a stick when you do something bad, here's a carrot when you do something good. But for creative people, that tends to disengage them mentally. And that's what we're paying for. Let's take a look at autonomy. And this is the first of three pieces that you need to engage someone who's a creative person. And autonomy means you're self-directed. It's defining the destination, but not the route to get there. My uncle's a truck driver, and he's paid by the mile. And he's paid by the mile from start to end on the shortest distance, but he's not told what that is. If he chooses to take a different road because it's more efficient for him, he can get faster, he takes an interstate versus a highway, that's his choice. That gives him a level of autonomy, and it keeps him driving. What about mastery? We want to be good at what we do. We want to believe that you're a good firefighter or policeman or computer programmer, or whatever it is. We want to feel like we are a master. And the more that we feel like we are master, the more engaged we will be in the work that we do. The problem with this is that mastery is an asymptote. that means you can never actually get there. There's no, I am the master of, say, information architecture. I'm good at information architecture. I'm great at information architecture, but I am never the one and only master. So mastery in the context of information architecture is our desire to be good at something, in this case information architecture. It's allowing people to become good at whatever it is that we're showing them. All right, purpose. Does what I'm doing matter? Now, you can say, okay, is this a Mother Teresa kind of purpose thing? No, actually it isn't. In fact, a lot of people are motivated by the fact that they're doing something for their community, for their school, for their family. It doesn't have to be that it's a big Mother Teresa kind of thing. It just has to be something that's important to them. It could be that they're creating new robotics that kids could play with, and that'll be fun. That's all it needs. A friend of mine, Ben Gibson, a friend and mentor of mine, was a teacher and a professor. And the cool thing about Ben is that he just wants to help other people reach their potential. He knows that inside of the students, there's this potential, and it's locked up, it's wrapped up inside of them, and he wants to let it out. So this is Motivation 3.0. It's autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and it allows you to engage creative people in the process. As through information architecture, we've got to engage creative people. So even where I'll tell you about card sort exercises and things like that later, you have to allow some flexibility. You have to give people the opportunity to be good at it, and you have to help them understand what the benefit is down the road. All right, I want to take a quick stop here to talk about firefighting. Well, I want to talk about expectations in firefighting. So when we're doing change, we can look at folks like Gary Klein and his work in Sources of Power, where he studied fire commanders. And the really interesting thing is, when he studied fire commanders, he expected that they were going to do rational decision making when they encountered a fire. But what he actually found was that they figured out stuff about fires through the development of mental models. They figured out that a fire behaves a certain way. They built a mental model. The fire captains were able to see things that other people can't see because of their experience, because of how it all fits together. So some of what we're doing here just comes with experience. Some of it, we can give you the frameworks and the pieces and parts, but you're going to get some of this just by doing more of it. So I'm going to take a step back. We've been talking relatively conceptually about stuff, and I want to be very concrete and specific. So in information architecture, we want people to enter metadata. If there's an argument between do you do metadata or do you do folders, the answer is do metadata because there's all kinds of advantages of it. The only real problem is you can't get people to do it. You could try the executive mandate. Somebody bangs their fist on a stage, on a podium on a stage, and they say, "Thou shalt do this, or you will be beheaded, or killed, or fired." Okay. The other one is manager mandate. You're going to do this, or you're gone. Okay. And another way is, well, we're going to do these employee games, and it's a scavenger hunt, and if you enter the right metadata and the right thing, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, all these things. And I'm not saying you shouldn't try them. I'm not saying you shouldn't try them. What I'm saying is you shouldn't expect that they'll work. We cannot really mandate people to do a behavior that they don't want to do and they don't understand. If you don't believe me, here's a really scary statistic. That is that the World Health Organization reports that hand washing compliance rates in hospitals and medical scenarios can be as low as 20%. That's scary. We know that washing your hands prevents germs. It's a great way to help prevent the spread of disease, and yet people don't do it. If you can't convince a doctor to wash his hands, how do you expect to get Susie in accounting to fill out metadata?